Suddenly, a daring thought invaded my head. Hey, MJ, why don't you ask the guy what he does for a living? Could I? I stood on the sidewalk, dumbfounded while I negotiated with myself. Emboldened and overcome with adrenaline, I found my legs moving toward the car as if my brain weren't agreeable. In the back of my mind, my brother taunted, "Danger, Will Robinson, danger." Sensing my approach, the owner hid his trepidation with a forced smile and opened his door. Whoa! The car's door flung up into the sky vertically as opposed to swinging out sideways like a normal car. It threw me off what little game I had, and I tried to maintain my composure as if cars with futuristic doors were standard fare. What couldn't have been more than 20 words seemed like a novel. My opportunity was here and I snatched it. "Excuse me, sir?" I nervously muttered, hoping he wouldn't ignore me. "May I ask what you do for a living?" Relieved that I wasn't a teenage derelict, the owner kindly responded, "I'm an inventor." Perplexed that his answer didn't match my preconception, my prepared follow-up questions were nullified, paralyzing my next move. I stood there frozen like the ice cream I had sought minutes earlier. Sensing the opportunity for escape, the young Lamborghini owner took the driver's seat, closed his door, and started the engine. The loud roar of the exhaust swept through the parking lot, alerting all life forms to the Lamborghini's formidable presence. Whether I liked it or not, the conversation was over. Knowing it might be years before such a sight would happen again, I took mental inventory of the automotive unicorn before me. I left awakened as a neural pathway suddenly smacked open in my brain. The liberation from fame and talent. What changed that day? I was exposed to the FastLane and a new truth. As for the sweets I pursued that day, I never made it into the store. I turned around and went home with a new reality. I wasn't athletic, I couldn't sing, and I couldn't act, but I could get rich without fame or without physical talent. From that point forward, things changed. The Lamborghini encounter lasted 90 seconds, but transcended a lifetime of new beliefs, directions, and choices. I decided that I would someday own a Lamborghini and I would do it while I was young. I was unwilling to wait until my next encounter, my next chance experience, and my next poster. I wanted it for myself. Yes, I retired the broomstick and got off my fat ass. The search for the Millionaire FastLane. After the Lamborghini encounter, I made a conscious effort to study young millionaires who weren't famous or physically talented. But I wasn't interested in all millionaires, just those who lived a rich, extravagant lifestyle. This examination led me to study a limited, obscure group of people, a small subset of fameless millionaires who met these criteria. 1. They were living a rich lifestyle or were capable of such. I wasn't interested in hearing from frugal millionaires who lived next door in the middle class. 2. They had to be relatively young, under 35, or they had to have acquired wealth fast. I wasn't interested in people who spent 40 years of their life jobbing and penny pinching their way to millions. I wanted to be rich young, not old. 3. They had to be self-made. I was broke. Silver spoon winners of the lucky sperm lottery weren't invited to my lab. 4. Their riches couldn't be from fame, physical talent, playing pro ball, acting, singing, or entertaining. I sought millionaires who would have started like me, an average guy without any special skill or talent who, somehow, made it big. Through high school and college, I religiously studied this millionaire divergence. I read magazines, books, and newspapers and watched documentaries of successful businessmen. Anything that provided insight into this small subset of millionaires, I absorbed it. Unfortunately, this zest to uncover the secret to fast wealth led me to disappointments. I was a late-night infomercial marketer's dream come true, gullible, willing, and armed with a credit card. I bought into countless opportunities, from one tiny classified ad to the Asian real estate mogul and his sexy bikini-clad yacht. Vixens. None of them delivered wealth, and despite the slick commercials and their claims, the large-breasted models never materialized. As I fed my appetite for knowledge and endured one odd job after another, my research uncovered some remarkable common denominators. I was confident I had uncovered all the components to the millionaire FastLane and fameless wealth. I was determined to become rich young, and the journey would begin after college graduation. Little did I know what lay ahead, the roadblocks, the detours, and the mistakes. Resistance into mediocrity. I graduated from Northern Illinois University with 2 business degrees. college was a 5-year prenatal employee brainwashing with graduation as the overrated climax. I viewed college as indoctrination into corporate droneship, an unfulfilled marriage between me and a life of jobs, bosses, and being overworked and underpaid. My friends were hired for great jobs and bragged about it. I work for Motorola. I got a job at Northwestern Insurance. Hertz Rental Cars hired me as a training manager. While I was happy for them, my friends bought into the slow lane lie. Me? Thanks but no thanks. I sought to avoid the slow lane like a medieval plague. My idea was to find the fast lane, retire rich and retire young. Roadblocks, detours, and depression. Despite the confidence, the next few years fell horribly short of my expectations. I lived with my mother as I bounced from one business venture to another. Success was absent. Every month was a different business: vitamins, jewelry, some hot turnkey, a marketing program purchased from the back of a business magazine, or some goofy long-distance network marketing gig. Despite the hard work, my record of failures grew, as did my mounting debts. Years passed and folly fermented as I was forced to take a series of Neanderthal jobs that crippled my ego: a busboy at a Chinese restaurant, yes, there are cockroaches in the back; a day laborer in the slums of Chicago; pizza delivery boy, flower delivery boy, dispatcher, limo driver, early morning newspaper delivery for the Chicago Tribune, Subway sandwich restaurant salesman, WTF, Sears stock clerk, in the freaking drapery department, charity can collector, and house painter. The only thing worse than these shitty jobs and their pay? The hours. Most required a pre-dawn start. 3 a.m. 4 a.m. If any ungodly hour was involved, you could bet my job required it. 5 years of college and I graduated to live like a dairy farmer. Hell, money was so tight that I prostituted myself to an older woman to pay for my best friend's wedding gift. Yes, cougars preyed in the 1990s. Meanwhile, my friends progressed in their careers. They got their 4% yearly pay increases. They bought their Mustangs and Acuras and their 1,200 square foot townhouses. They appeared to be content and lived the expectant life preordained by society. They were normal and I wasn't. At 26 years old, I fell into depression. My businesses were not self-sufficient and neither was I. Seasonal depression gnawed at my fractured psyche. Chicago's rainy, dark, dreary weather made me crave the comfort of a warm bed and tasty pastries. Accomplishments were preceded by sunshine, so yes, I wasn't accomplishing much. Tired of the high school dropout jobs I struggled to get out of bed, and doubt became the daily affirmation. Physically, emotionally, and financially exhausted from failure, I knew my results weren't indicative of my true self. I knew the fast lane way to wealth but just couldn't get it executed. What was I doing wrong? What was holding me back? After all these years of research and education, complete with a closet full of books, magazines, and a quick start videos, I was still no closer to wealth. I sat stalled on the sidewalk with the fast lane nowhere in sight. My deep depression sunk me into escapes, but instead of drugs, sex, or alcohol, I lost myself in books and kept studying fameless millionaires. If I couldn't be successful, I'd escape into the lives of those who were by absorbing books of the rich, autobiographies of the successful, and other rags-to-riches tales. But it got worse. The people in my life gave up on me. My longtime girlfriend proclaimed, "You have no resolve." She had a safe and secure job with a rental car agency, but we'd argue because she worked long hours for chump change, a whopping $28,000 a year. Of course, she rightly retorted with the facts: "You don't have a job, you make $27,000 less than me, and none of your businesses work." She was a smart cat. Our relationship ended as she found courtship with a corporate radio ad executive. And then there was my mother. For the first years after college, she cut me slack, but then came the failures and the goofy jobs. I begged patience and pleaded that wealth creation for a fast-lane entrepreneur operates under an exponential scale. Those who hold jobs operate under a linear scale. Unfortunately, it didn't matter how great my charts and diagrams were. Mom lost faith and I didn't blame her. Landing a man on Mars showed more promise. Her directives dulled my drive. She'd shout, "Get a job, baby," at least 20 times a week. Ugh, even today I shudder. That phrase, shouted in that voice, could exterminate cockroaches in a post-apocalyptic world. There were days I'd want to pound my head into a vice and crush my ears into deafness. Get a job, baby, bore into my soul. It was a motherly decree that put the trial to an end with the jury's unanimous verdict, a failure, with a vote of no confidence. Mom suggested, the grocery store is hiring a deli manager, why don't you go down there and check it out? As if my college education and struggles for the last 5 years were to eclipse at the deli counter, cutting blocks of bologna and ladling potato salad to the neighborhood soccer moms. Thanks for the job tip, but I'll pass. My blizzard of awakening, it took the pain of a cold Chicago blizzard to throw me into the crossroads of life. It was a dark, frigid night, and I was dead tired working as a limo driver. My shoes were drenched from wet snow while I fought a migraine headache. The 4 aspirins I chased 2 hours earlier had no effect. I wanted to get home but couldn't. I was stuck in a blizzard and my usual routes were snowed in. I pulled to the shoulder of a faintly lit road and felt the cold chill of melted snow crawl up my legs from my toes. I put the limo in park and faced myself in dead silence with nothing but the fall of snowflakes to remind me how much I hated winter. I gazed at the cigarette-burned ceiling of the limousine and thought, what the hell am I doing? Is this what my life has become? Sitting on an empty road in a blizzard in the dark of the night out in the middle of nowhere, I'd had it. Sometimes clarity washes over you like a peaceful breeze and other times it hits you over the head like a falling Steinway piano. For me, it was the latter. A sharp declaration overpowered my brain, you cannot live another day like this. If I was going to survive, I needed to change. The decision to change the harsh winter shot me into swift action. I decided to change. I decided to take control over something I thought was uncontrollable, my environment. I decided to relocate to where I didn't know, and at that moment, I didn't care. In an instant, I felt powerful. The velocity of that choice infused my miserable existence with hope and a small drip of happiness. My failures evaporated and I felt reborn. Suddenly a dead-end road converged with a dream. It just wasn't about the decision to move, it was about taking control and knowing that I had a choice. With this new power, I considered options that never had dawned on me. I asked a simple question, if I could live anywhere in the country without restraint, where would I live? I thought about the things important to me and circled 5 cities on a map. The next month I moved, or I should say escaped. The merge from FastLane to FastLane. I arrived in Phoenix with $900, no job, no friends, and no family, just 330 days of sun and a burning desire to hit the fast lane.